Welcome to the Out on a Limb podcast. We are all interconnected to a greater web of consciousness. Our aim is to open your mind to a new world through having open-minded discussions about what we perceive our reality to be.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Out on a Limb podcast with your hosts Samantha, Allison, and Will, where today we are going to talk about starseeds, namely 3 clues that you are a starseed. And if you've been following our podcast, like many of our viewers have been, you probably already know this, and you realize that we wrote a book about it, The Origin Story, and many of you have read that and participated in our classes. But for anybody who's catching this, not having watched all of our podcasts, or maybe not knowing who we are, you might have heard this word thrown around, starseed, and wonder, what the heck is a starseed? How do I know if I am one? What does it mean? Why do I care? All of that sort of stuff. And we're going to tackle that.
And we're only going to cover it in three topics.
3 bullets, but you know.
They'll expand out. They'll spool out into all these little.
Our bullets are very rich.
Yeah.
We have lots to unravel in them.
Exactly.
But before we do that, we were going to share a couple of announcements. You have an announcement?
Well, when people are watching this, I will be out on the road. I'm going to be doing my solo journey, and I'm going to meet up with one of my friends out in Sedona. But this will be a solo journey, minivan camping with my adventure cat, Pan, which if, you know, like we were joking around about, we were talking about TikTok and my TikTok account. Yep. They were saying, oh, check out Samantha's TikTok account, which consists of just pictures of my cat or videos of my cat.
Which is quite a beautiful cat, by the way.
It is.
Yeah, he's really quite stupendous.
He is.
And so anyway, I'm doing this as, you know, like a leap of faith. It's a journey of trusting in the universe. It's facing fears. It's insanity. I don't know, but it's this thing I've been this nudge to do, and my minivan's almost all fixed up. And so, you know, if you go to my YouTube page, you'll get information on it. You'll see me posting videos, but I'm going to be active on the road. Like, I'm still going to be working from the road. And part of it is proof of concept. Can I work from the road?
Yeah.
So just know you guys can still book appointments, sessions. I just want to name this one thing that I'm doing that I think is pretty cool, called On Call Intuitive. And it's basically where you can subscribe for like a week or a month, possibly a day. I'm still kind of feeling that one out. And we just riff back and forth. Like, you got questions, things come up, which is why it's better to do the month-long thing. If you're going through a tough time, if you're trying to suss some stuff out, it's like you've got a psychic friend at the other end of the line. Yeah. You know, a BFF. Right. So anyway, I will have that information on my website and in various places. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yep.
Fantastic. And I said a couple of announcements. We actually don't have any other announcements because by the time this airs, our 6-week writing course will have started.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that'll be underway. And
I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
That's going to be very cool.
Oh, it is going to be fun. We're starting right after spring break, which will be in a few weeks from when we're recording this, but I think this will air May, end of April, May?
Somewhere in there, yeah.
All right, so 3 clues that you're a starseed. Okay, the first hint is, this doesn't count as one of the 3.
This is a bonus.
We're all starseeds.
Right. Spoiler.
Dun, dun, dun.
Spoiler.
We're all starseeds. And by the way, for those of you who are out there in our podcast audience, do know that we're streaming this live also on TikTok as we record, which is unique, and we haven't really done this as we're practicing this today. So if you see Will looking over, it's not because he's not interested in you all.
Right.
It's because he's just checking numbers or looking at comments or whatever else. But at any rate,
we're exploring, expanding.
Yes.
As many of you guys who have watched us for a long time know, and who have availed yourself of this book, you know that our galaxy was created for humanity by the 12. And again, take this if it resonates. If it doesn't, just let it go. If you've heard different things from other people. This is what we understand from our guides. The 12 starseeds, they call themselves the source clusters. There were 12 of them that came from source. And you know many of these. They're Pleiadians, Andromedans, Arcturians, Venusians, Martians, Draconians, all of those guys. Orion, Sirians, Pleiadians, a bunch of them that you're familiar with. And our understanding and what they communicated to us when they gave us the transmissions for this book is that we have 12 strands of DNA, and I've heard that around. I know that that's not unusual for you all to understand that. 12 strands of energetic DNA, but when we come into a body, we incarnate with 2 of them in physicality. So we know that we have 2 physical strands of DNA. And so what you do is when you're creating your contract for this life, you align with 2 of them that you want for them to serve as guides for you, or to have a special connection with you, or some sort of bond for a mission. And for support. And so you sign that as part of your contract, and you have 2. Now, sometimes what we understand is that those 2 can change. If you have drastic changes, for example, you go from unawake to awakened, then those 2 alignments might change, because now your trajectory has sort of changed track, and you might need different kinds of support. The 1 is your primary alignment, and that's the one that works with you every day, day to day. It's your primary source of information and help and whatever. So for me, that is Lyran. For you, Sirian.
Yep. And then
Do you remember yours?
Pleiadian.
Pleiadian,
Yes.
of course. And so the second strand is what they call your source cluster, not necessarily meaning source as where you're from, but source meaning that's kind of an extra source of support for you in terms of transition. When you're going through something major and you need a little bit of extra galactic support, then they step in to help move you, not transition out of the body, but moving in through different transitions on the earthly plane. So mine is Pleiadian. Yours is Pleiadian.
Yeah.
Well, mine was Syrian. And then when I went through the whole, like it was beyond the origin story, it was a while after that, it became Orion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which made so much sense to me with what their mission is to work with us. And
You said it was first what?
Syrian.
Oh, okay, so
And then-
Syrian to Orion. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And yeah, that is interesting. The Syrians tend to be amplifiers, by the way. So
Well, and that's when I was first learning to channel and so forth.
They're
And,
So you
amplifiers.
need
and
that
my source is Pleiadian. That's the main channeled entity coming through is Pleiadian source. So that made a lot of sense to me. But with what I was starting to go through with the course of my journey, my path, having to create, construct, or whatever, this whole new kind of life or experience or whatever, it shifted to Orion, and it made complete sense to me.
what have you noticed with the Orions? Have you noticed anything in terms of their communication or their support or?
I haven't really tuned into it. I just, but it's like my whole life has shifted into a
Yes.
very, it's weird because, you get into this stuff and it's like things seem less real and reality just shifts on you and stuff. And yet it's almost like I have more structure.
Right.
Through them. I'm able to structure my experiences, my life, I don't know. It's just I feel like it's more grounded or makes more sense, even though it's still kind of woo.
Yeah, we call that kind of woo-woo, and you don't feel grounded. You feel, when we start to ascend and have all of these experiences,
Shifts in perception.
Yep.
we start to question our own sanity, right? And then
Yeah.
when we start talking about this sort of thing, people start questioning our sanity, and your family might be like, hey,
Right.
and we did a whole episode on that. Hey, my family thinks I'm crazy. What should I do?
Yeah.
So it can be a little bit discouraging, disorienting, disconcerting when you feel like you're out there on a limb by yourself.
Yep.
Well, and there's also the whole thing that, we keep looking out there like, everybody wants to know when disclosure is going to happen and the whole ET thing. And then when you start to realize, oh, wait, that's kind of the substance of where I come from, that this is all part of it. No, I'm not acting as an ET.
Right.
I am embodying human. but that there's, I'm drawing on that aspect, then it's like, oh, cousins, you
Right,
know,
right.
like it's not like, oh, these are these other beings. You begin to realize that
That they're a part of you.
interconnectedness.
It's all right,
yeah.
yeah.
And that's what we talk about when we say we are multidimensional beings. We're so much more than just humans or even the divine in a meat suit. We are these multidimensional human beings that have parallel lives, past lives, future lives, galactic lives, angelics. You know, you can have all sorts of pieces of you and aspects of you, and you can tap into any of those that you, as you become aware and tune in, you can tap into those for guidance and for help.
And, I mean, what's interesting is like I know what my primary and my source is, but I don't rely on them that much. Like I don't.
It's just
Or not
interesting.
consciously.
Yeah.
It's just more of a point of awareness for me. But the one being, if you want to call it that, but the one that I connect to is my Zeta. That, you know, the little gray that's been with me for all of my life. That is I'll say my technical engineering advisor. He's the one that downloads me schematics and different things, and it's a very interesting relationship. And I never knew this about myself until I had that first channel, that first QHHT session. But yeah, whenever I need some technical information about something, whether, because I'm a mechanic by trade, but you know, if I need something about an engine or a piece of machinery or a piece of electronics or whatever, and I know nothing about it, I send it up to the sky. And then within a day or so, I have a dream or I have some information that is downloaded in me of exactly what needs to be fixed.
He just knows how to fix something.
You know what it makes me think of is Stargate.
Yeah.
Stargate Thor.
No,
So you guys can talk about this, 'cause I don't watch these shows.
I don't either. I started with season 1 and I'm like, I can't. It's too.
What was it, too real?
No,
too much?
it's too
hokey?
It's too 80s.
Yeah.
It's too 80s.
Yeah.
So
Is it from the 80s? Or
yeah.
Okay,
It started in the
It
80s, but
spans over a
I think it went
long
over into
time.
the late 90s. I think or something. Yeah.
Yeah, because you had the different series and then anyway.
They branched
but,
off
But it's
and-
like Thor, who's just like this. Yeah, he's they're very technically oriented and all this kind of stuff. So anyone who's seen Stargate knows what I'm talking about with Thor. Thor's awesome.
I know your friend Chris, our friend Chris. She likes that.
Yeah, she
show,
loves
too.
Stargate too. Yeah.
She's the one who turned me on to it. Yeah.
So we know that we're multidimensional beings, right? And so you have all these different aspects of yourself. And many people have done quantum healing hypnosis technique through Dolores Cannon's work, or beyond quantum healing through Candace Kroll Goldman, or any number of different past life regressionists and things. And so you have already tapped in, many of you, to this past life or parallel life or future life aspect of yourself. The galactic aspect of yourself is just another one of those ways to understand who you are. And if you choose to sort of embody that or embrace that or investigate that in this lifetime, not everybody wants to, but some people are fascinated by it, namely us.
Yeah.
You wrote a book on it.
But even
You
as a
came here to share.
child, even as a child, I was so fascinated. I didn't read science fiction, but I was fascinated by things like the Bermuda Triangle, UFOs, you know, all that kind of stuff just fascinated me. So yeah, I think this has always been in my DNA.
Well, I know for me, Pleiadian, the Pleiadian star system, whatever, I would look up those stars like all the time. And when I got into I guess it was my 20s to 30s, I just started looking up there and feeling homesick.
Yeah.
Like it was,
That's one of our three.
oh my God, I won't say anything more.
And you didn't even see this. Wow. Oh, that's funny. Yes. Okay. Well, we can do number 3 first if you want.
We'll start from the
since we're
bottom up.
there.
3 clues that you are a starseed. Number 1, do you feel homesick? See, Samantha's evidence of.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, granted, I always thought Subarus were cool. And my friend, our friend, Lori, actually bought a Subaru because of the Pleiadian tie-in with the, but I never really understood that their logo was the Pleiadian.
Yeah.
Because they call it the Seven
si-
Sisters,
yeah.
right? And there's 7 stars. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And then when I started channeling, that's what the first thing that came through. We were identifying who was speaking to us, and they said the 7 sisters.
Nice.
Apparently, there's 9 planets that, or nine suns, or 9 stars.
Yeah.
Even though, but we can only see 7, so they know that we refer to it as the 7 sisters.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
They told me all of that. That was like pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it made sense to me that that's who was coming through. but yeah, it just, I mean, I'll just go out at night and it's just like, it's just comforting to see it. And during the year when I can't see it, it's just like, okay, I know they're there.
Right.
And it makes no sense because here I am being human. But the homesickness is like, it's a weird thing to gaze up into what we'd consider the coldness of the vastness of the, universe and stuff and go home,
Yeah.
but it's definite, like a belonging.
I can't say that I've ever like gazed up and said, I want to go home or I'm homesick or whatever. But I've always, as a child and whatnot, just was fascinated by the vastness of it. Like there was something that was like, not that I'm homesick, but I just want to go there. And just something that I want to go there and just be part of it. And we actually had, and this is kind of sidetracking, but we just recently had an interesting experience. We were, I had two, but Allison had one. So we were in the hot tub and we were looking up towards the Big Dipper, which would have been facing north. And so if you imagine the Big Dipper in the sky, the very bottom corner star of the ladle, you could say, just off to it, there was a pulsing light. And it wasn't a plane because it stayed there.
Yeah.
And it almost seemed as it was going in a kind of a circle.
Little tiny
circle. And it was just pulsing. And then finally it just kind of faded out to nothing.
You have been talking about this so frequently that I think maybe next time we do a private channeling, I need to ask you.
Yeah, well, and then just the other night I went out because I had to go out to the garage for something, and I always stop on the porch and I look up and I just stare, and I'm just
don't you just take it in? It's like, oh my God!
And I just say thank you, and I talk to whoever's up there, right?
The man in the moon,
right? But just as I'm looking in the night sky towards Orion's belt, because it was over here towards the southeast or southwest. In my left eye, I caught a glimpse of a quick flash. I was like, what the flip? I'm like, what is going on?
I'm sure that's what you said.
Right. Yeah. Right. So, and it makes me think that, we always say, well, how come we can't see a craft? You were trying to do that in the hot tub the other night. It's like, I just want to see a craft.
Just show up.
Just come out and maybe that's what they're doing is they're just signaling to us that, hey, we're here.
But they still could come up with a big black triangle over my hot tub and say, here you go, here's your moment.
Right.
And then just disappear, whatever. Just
yes.
humor me, guys, humor me.
Just be there.
So part of this feeling homesickness, what kind of ties in, and I had here, is that you maybe feel like you don't belong or you feel out of place. Like Earth is not your home for whatever reason, or you just don't fit in. A lot of people that are in our circle that we hear from the origin story and stuff, they'll tell us, like, I was the only one of the four siblings that I just never fit in, and I just knew I was different, or people made fun of me, or.
And this is not black sheep stuff. This goes beyond like you just.
Yeah.
You're like a square peg in a round hole where you just don't. It doesn't make sense. Like Earth doesn't make sense to you for whatever reason. So if you have felt that, then maybe you are a starseed.
I recall doing a past life regression via auto writing and asked how many lifetimes I've had here on Earth. And, and everyone's like, oh, you've done billions. But I was asking, my question was, because I knew no other concept but being human, right?
Right.
So I said, how many lifetimes have I had here on Earth? And they said 25. And I'm like, and this was my 25th. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. Yeah. Well, because the question wasn't how many how many, whatever embodiments or, have I existed elsewhere? I was asking on Earth.
Sure.
Okay.
And so I filed that away like, okay, that can't be right. That doesn't make sense.
Sure.
And maybe, I don't know. Anyway, that's the information I got. But it didn't, I was kind of like, wow, I thought it would be like thousands and all this stuff. But anyway, later on, I got some information understanding that, okay, so I'm primarily Pleiadian, right? And then how is it that worked? Like that information started to come in, and then all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, I've had so many other lifetimes, just not here.
Right.
And my question was, how many lifetimes have I had on Earth? Not how many lifetimes.
That's still not compared to what we've heard with our clients, that's still not very many.
No.
I usually ask for how many human lifetimes have they had, and they're in the thousands.
Yeah, I don't know. And again, I don't know how that, but what it did make sense to me is that I've never understood, I don't understand a lot of mechanics about Earth. I don't understand how money works, like how it's handed off, how it
Just
like
doesn't make sense.
I've been saving some money for this road trip that I'm doing, and I keep putting it away. And now I have all of these bills, and I don't know how I got all of these bills. I don't remember people giving them to me. I don't remember
multiplying.
how they. Yeah,
I love it.
But I mean, it's just it's like, how did it become so much with when someone just handed me a single bill? Or I would go into like areas where there's strip malls, and I don't understand how commerce can occur in such a way, because you only see one or two people go into the place, and you're just going,
How do they
okay,
stay?
if that's multiplied by the number of hours they're open, how are they affording to stay in business? So it's I have a lack of conceptual awareness on these basic topics.
Yeah.
So, I've now, like, I talked to my husband about it. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm clueless. Like, I really don't, I'm a babe in the woods with this stuff. And that's the only thing that makes sense, is that I really don't get it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're having some of
know.
those same feelings, then you might be a starseed. But when we say might be a starseed, again, everybody has galactic DNA. No one is just a human being. And so what we mean by are you a starseed is that what you're supposed to explore in this life? Is that the aspect of your multidimensionality that wants to make itself known to you at this point? Is that where you're being led, in other words, right?
Right.
So the second one is a fascination, like I was saying about myself, with extraterrestrials, with UFOs, with the galactic or space aspect. Did you want to be an astronaut? All of those. Did you love laying on the beach looking at the stars? Learning about astronomy.
Get excited about meteor showers.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Waiting for that one star.
Yeah, or learning about comets or how the stars work or eclipses and all of that kind of stuff. But what we've also noticed is that many people who are starseeds or who this is a big thing for them, they have had some sort of interaction early on.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's what we would call abduction. And that's a whole nother podcast to talk about what that means and whether we should be traumatized by that, because some people are for sure.
The fact that they don't like that word, abduction.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
They've either had that sort of experience that comes out in a hypnosis session, for example, or comes as we awaken. Some of these past lives or these experiences start to come into our understanding, into our awareness, or they've seen a UFO, perhaps as a child. We have a good friend of ours that I work with who had a phenomenal experience. I don't want to share too much about her story of seeing an extraterrestrial in person when she was little, and it stuck with her, and she knows what she saw. It was crazy. Or you've seen a ship, or you've had some other kind of experience, like maybe sometimes beings appear in your room, the ephemeral kind of wispy looking being, or maybe a full-blown being showed up. Maybe you welcomed it, maybe you were scared, or very lucid dreams with these beings.
And that's what my experience was very, not with beings, but just a reoccurring dream from childhood all the way into my mid-20s. And that's one of the other questions that we explored during that QHHT session was, what was that dream? And it was always a scene of kind of a wooded ridgeline with a UFO. And it would always put me into a paralyzed state as I'm going into this dream. It would put me into a paralyzed state. I would never see quote unquote ETs, but I always had this vision of that, and could never remember anything beyond a certain point. And what it ended up being is it's basically a memory showing me this memory of being seeded to this planet. From that aspect of, from a galactic
But it was
aspect.
frightening for you.
It was very
for a
frightening.
long time.
Very frightening.
Even when I met him, he was
Yeah.
afraid to watch
Anything that
had UFOs or extraterrestrial. He couldn't watch it at night because then he
Right.
would have nightmares or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Well, so, and my whole UFO encounter out in Arizona, that whole thing, it came on the heels of me being a part of a group where they were going towards all the ET stuff, and I was not. I was open to the possibility, but that's not where my interest was. I was not going there. And subsequently, that's the direction the group wanted to go in, and I wasn't embracing that. So I was asked to leave, I guess. And it's not that I was fighting it in the group. It's just that I wasn't entertaining it and going, that's where they wanted to take it. So it was literally 4 months after that occurred, 4 or 5 months, 4 months, because it was in May, that I'm out west with my son and toward sunset and see a UFO, and subsequently ended up channeling one of the entities. And it was crazy. It's like once you see it, you can't unsee it, and it's done. But it's like, okay, we just want to remind you, we're here, we do exist, and now it's time. I just think it's funny. It was on the heels of me going, I'm sure they exist. I'm not going to doubt it, but it's, And they're like,
but it is your thing.
It is, yes. Hello.
And think how much you've changed since then, because that was before we met, right?
Yeah, right before we met. And
since we met, when did we meet? It was
2021, I think.
Yeah, so even since then, you've changed a lot.
Oh, hugely.
So,
vastly.
It's fascinating. All right, so the third clue that you are a starseed is that you feel you have a larger mission. You have this sense of greatness, not from an ego place, but this sense that there's something unfulfilled. There's something that you're supposed to be doing or sharing or helping others with, a service mission typically.
Yeah, it's not so much like you got to leave your mark. It's that there's something you're supposed to do. You're supposed to convey or construct or, so it's because to me, leaving your mark is more of an ego kind of thing, where this is like a nudge, an urging inside of you.
Or some would say a mission from God. Right.
Like the Blues Brothers, weren't they on a mission from God?
They were on a mission from God. Yeah.
In their little black sedan.
Yeah. So.
Well, and it definitely, that has been a part of my whole life. It's just been like, I've said over and over again, this isn't how it's supposed to be. This is not it. This is not the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be this way. And, everybody would look at me like I'm so weird. Like, no, this is the construct of reality. And I'm just like, no, because you can build things outside of this. You can do this. You can do that, and I just constantly fought against what was right in front of me. My mom always said I wanted to reinvent the, reinvent the wheel or whatever. And that was just a natural inclination because, I knew there was something more, and just working a 9-to-5 job. Oh my God, that's a big one, that you feel trapped.
Yeah.
You literally feel trapped, like you can't breathe.
Well, it's, all through my, young adult years, my military life, that whole bit, and then even into past military life, up until that, 15, 16 timeframe of when we started awakening, I always had that concept in my head of, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And I'm, in my mid 40s, I'm like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't know what my mission is. I don't know what, quote unquote, what my mission is or what my purpose is or any of that, all the typical things. Yeah. I never thought of it that way, but I just never felt settled in what I should be doing until what I'm actually doing now. Even early on with the psychic work, mediumship and all that stuff, I just didn't feel settled in that until I started doing the channeling work. And now, whether it's galactics, whether it's whatever, that's where I feel settled. And that's where I know I am, quote unquote, in that mission or on that purpose, and it leads into that whole, knowing that I don't want to make it sound like it's ego, but greater than myself, meaning, there's some force other than myself that's guiding me through this process. Yeah. And when I can surrender into that, I don't really have to worry about what is taking place.
Exactly.
And that's the beauty in it. And I feel so confident, that was the first word, but comfortable in what I'm doing. And it's so satisfying in a way in which I don't have to stress about it anymore. I don't have to, it's just exactly what I'm here to do.
So you never had to go through all the letting go of the ego stuff and all of it, like the who am I to be doing this kind of.
No. I went through that too.
Because that's still the human construct of
When I first,
who are you to be doing this?
when I first started doing the channeling work, absolutely, because it was like, because it's especially the channeling work that I'm doing, it's a weird place because I could go, no, I have a client at 4, but I come up here at 3:30 to prepare myself. And in my head, I'm going, is this really working? Am I really doing this? That kind of thing. And then sit in the chair and then drop into a trance and then it's there.
God, that's so funny.
It is. But it even to the point of, do I really have that skill set? Am I making this up?
It takes a while for it to sink in that this is really who you are.
Right.
But
exactly.
you have, like, that's the thing, you talk about the mission. It's when you are on mission, when you are doing, it's like you might have all of these kind of, I don't know, and who am I to do this and all this kind of stuff. But the thing is, you can't not do it.
Right.
It's a compulsion.
Yeah.
You literally have to move forward.
Yeah.
And it's not like, we don't step out there and go, I'm going to speak to the masses and you will follow me. And like everything I do is absolutely, don't put me up on the pedestal.
Right.
And if I can just reach one person, I know that one person's going to shift so many other lives. And so it's like, and I have tried to walk away from it. And when I try to walk away from it and do what I like to call Muggle world, I turn around and go, smack right into it again. And it's been a harsh experience to go from being in Muggle world where you know what to expect and here's life and you go to the same places and you do the same thing. And then literally it's like an alien, somebody weird, a walk-in or some bizarre experience happens it jaw drops you.
It just throws right back into it.
Yeah. And you're just like, okay, well, here I go again. Bye, guys. It's like,
It will not let you veer too far off. You have a lane here, and you can detour a little bit, but they're going to keep on with the guardrails, right? Bringing you back to your mission.
Yeah.
And you were talking about how you were in your 40s or whatever, and that happens to a lot of people. It's almost like something in your DNA activates at a certain age. It's like, okay, click, turns on, and you start investigating. And we used to call this, people still call it, a midlife crisis. And you don't
there's
understand
something more out there.
that there's like you've hit 45 and what do I have to show for this? Like a bank account and some kids. Okay, well, there's something to be said about that, of course. But it's like you feel you had this, you've missed the boat on something, or there was something bigger you were supposed to do by now. And so if you can steer that investigation into the right areas, then you might find that fulfilling life for yourself. But if not, then you're going to buy the Corvette, or you're going to have an affair or something like that to satisfy
this. Or the
this.
convertible Mercedes.
To satisfy this need inside. Yeah.
Well, and that goes back to being mindful. Like, are you so fearful of, I don't know which way to go, and like that you're consuming, like you're drinking and you're buying and you're traveling and you're doing all this stuff instead of just going within and going, okay, what is this thing? Let me sit with it. Because the thing is, you're being guided, you're being nudged. And it's just like, if you would just get into a mindful state and just go, let me stop trying to fill the void within. Let me seek out what this void is. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, that's just the separation from, my higher self and my mission, what I'm supposed to, what I came here to do. And a lot of times, it's like, it scares people. Like, again, I go back to who am I, imposter syndrome, who am I to do that? And everybody will think I'm weird and crazy. And and here, like my mom used to introduce me. This is my weird daughter, Sam. And, and I had to wear it just like, okay, no problem. You just, what do they say? Do the weird thing.
Yeah.
Embrace the weirdness.
Yeah.
Embrace it. Yeah. Overcoming
and it's also
fear.
weird anymore.
No, it's not.
It's becoming more mainstream
Way
and
more
cool.
Mainstream. Way more
Well,
mainstream.
right. I think one of the things I say it a couple of times. It's
We got some hearts for that one.
yeah, right. I see that. There's this aspect of, well, am I crazy? Maybe I am, but I'd rather be on this side of crazy than that side of crazy.
The 9 to 5 crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Right.
because this side is fulfilling.
It is.
It's like life is so much easier to deal with when you have accept that you're not just like, when you just feel like you're just this puny, like literally you accept I'm puny human, and humans are not puny. That's something we bought into that they talk about in the origin story.
Yeah.
But when that's all you think that you are, it's like, God, no, you're so amazing. You're so much
Yeah.
more than that. You're
Yeah.
like, and yeah, it's just all of that, like just
So living from that space
Yeah.
is so rewarding and fulfilling and fun.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you say that a lot of star seeds, and I've heard these expressions, people have heard light workers and our soul mission or stuff like that. So would you say that all star seeds, the majority of from y'all's channelings, listen to me, y'all's channelings.
Right.
You're not from the South, are you?
No, not from the South at all. But from your channelings, have you, is that like, if you're a star seed, you are on, and you're here right now, you're doing that mission? Or could you be a star seed and just acting as a tourist?
Well, like I said, we are all star seeds
Yeah.
because we all have galactic DNA. That's the bottom
I
line.
wasn't setting her up for that.
However, no. But to your point, if you're watching this and you're fascinated by this and you're wondering about what a starseed is, or you're researching that, then it doesn't mean that you are a starseed and other people aren't. It means that right now it's important for you to understand that aspect of your multidimensional reality.
Right.
Like I said, we said at
That
the
makes so
beginning,
much sense.
we have all these different multidimensional aspects, whether it's past life, parallel life, future life, angelic life, galactic life, human life, all of these things.
She said it. She said angelic.
Some people have that aspect
Yeah.
of themselves. You can even feel your wings coming out when
Yeah.
you start to embrace that, right?
Get a good Reiki session. That could very well happen.
Had
So
it happen
which
a couple of times.
aspect, maybe you have done this in the past, and so in this incarnation, you're not meant to what we would term awaken or open up this understanding. You just want to be human. You want to just do the human thing. And that's why this is another major point. Don't worry about what your friends and family are doing. If they're not awakened, or you're trying to tell them stuff so they can awaken and so they know what to do, don't worry about it. It's not your job. And they might not be awakening. They're still going to ascend. We're all ascending.
Yep.
But they may not awaken in the way that we understand it
Right.
in this life, because that's not what they wrote into their contract. And that's perfectly fine. It liberates you from having to worry about it.
Yep.
Just follow your path.
So in other words, there's no one concrete, I feel like we're explaining all of it, but you have to realize there's layers of understanding, layers of reality. Like I mentioned before about the scaffolding.
Yeah.
Scaffolding of what's true to you. And sometimes, or a Jenga thing, sometimes you can put the block back in because that one no longer serves you. Now you're doing this. And,
Yeah.
and it's like, there's so many aspects to all of this. Because I remember, especially when I was doing, so I do mediumship and I'm connecting people over. And so I'm like, okay, wait a second. If we have a higher self and there's an aspect of that higher self coming into this experience, and then when they cross over, are they going back up? No, because I'm reaching out to them over here and they're still going on with their experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a fractalization. Then that word came into my life.
Yeah.
There's a fractalization going on. And the thing is, so many things can be held as truth.
Right.
On so many different levels. It's not this or that, it's this and that. And your brain it was designed to, like, how much percentage of the brain do we actually use? Like, once you get an understanding of
lot.
something,
No.
you open up and you're able to contain a little bit more. And that's why I've changed so much since we've met, is my
Yeah.
ability to open
Hold
up.
more.
Yeah, is so vastly different than what it was before. I can't imagine going through everything we've been through these past, 4 or 5 years without my mind opening
Yeah.
up the way it has
Yeah.
to hold all the many truths.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's been so insane.
No.
And so why is this important? Why talk about these clues that you might be a starseed? And really all of the things we've talked about, all the characteristics, all of the experiences, if you're going through some of that, it simply means that maybe this is the path that is calling to you. Maybe this is the aspect of your greater mission in this life, and these galactics want to work with you. One thing that we didn't name in one of our 3 clues, but the 12, all of the Palladians, the Lyrians, the Syrians, all of these guys have different areas of expertise, for example. And so tapping into where your DNA is and what your connections are will help sort of guide you to your mission. For example, the Lyrians, my primary, are very much heart-centered. So they're the ones that are going to be bridging divides between people. They're going to be the ones with authentic relationships. Also healing, of course, healing by their very being in that essence of love. The Syrians are amplifiers. The Pleiadians are high-level healers. The Arcturians are very technical. They're coming up with some of the healing technology that's going to be coming into the planet. The Agarthans are very much earth-centered. So if you are an environmentalist and you're really concerned about the animals and the plants and what we're doing to our planet, then maybe they're connecting with you.
And they work alongside the elementals and different things like that.
Yeah. And so, and the Martians are very much connected to humanity. They're walking amongst us. They were sort of the incubator. Mars and the Martians were the incubator for humanity. So, again, exploring this is fascinating. If you are new to all of this, by the way, or if you're listening on TikTok, we do offer a channeling for $33. It's on our website. If you're interested in finding out who your 2 strands of DNA are aligned with, it's very inexpensive to give you that kind of reading, or you can do a 30-minute reading where your 2 strands, your 2 connection points come in and actually talk to you about your mission and what you're here for. We also do an hour-long higher self channeling where you can ask those questions and other things as well. So whatever you're into, if you're interested in exploring this, please reach out.
It's kind of like your archetypes, or knowing if you're Aries and what does that mean? It's like it helps to make sense of some of the experiences that you're having, why you're doing what you're doing or whatever. Like if you're aligned and happy, and if you're not aligned and you're unhappy, and you hear, this is where your connection is, you might realize, that's the thing that I'm really interested in. So I'm off. I'm out of sync with where I'm supposed to be.
So I think you can find that on your TikTok.
on my
Linktree or something.
Linktree on my profile,
Or if you're watching it on the podcast in a month or so, because our TikTok people get to watch this live earlier. But if you're watching the recorded version in a month or so, then of course, you know where to find that in the description box. But this was so much fun. We could talk about this stuff for hours. We love the galactic stuff. If you are interested in it and you want to pick up the copy of the book, you can do that. It's on Amazon. And that'll introduce you to the 12. You might align with them and know if you're intuitive, who you align with by reading. It's also super, it's a big transmission of energy and frequency. So you will not get through it and not be changed. And it'll put you right on your mission and your path for sure. But at any rate, this has been a lot of fun talking about this. Hopefully we'll do another TikTok live and talk more about this. So be on the lookout for that. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube or any place else like that, we thank you so much for joining us on Out on a Limb podcast. Please hit that thumbs up button because it does help the algorithm, and the notification bell if you want to be notified about anything that we post. We usually put these up once a week on Wednesdays. Share videos that you like so other people can find this information, because we are ascending. People need to tap into their mission and get the support from their galactics.
It's like, get with the program, people.
That's it. For sure.
Thanks again, and we will see you next time on Out on a Limb podcast.
Bye.
See you guys.